So exciting time for the West Ham men's team after that transfer business that we just discussed there. And another part of the club, of course, important part of the club that we've been covering for a while now on this podcast, did the whole of last season and a little bit of the season before, is, of course, the West Ham women. I'm delighted to say that joining us for our first West Ham women's section of the season is friend of the podcast, Kathryn Batte, sports journalist from the Daily Mail and WSL expert and all-round good guy. Kathryn, it's nice to see you again. Welcome back for the new season. Thanks for joining us. It's exciting stuff this year for the West Ham women. Me and you were chatting the other day. I was fortunate enough to get a sit down with Oli Harder, the West Ham women manager, a few weeks ago for a piece I did for work. As always, check out at @West Ham or my Twitter at @WilliamPugh_ if you want to have a read of that. Not you, Kathryn, by the way. That was just to everyone. You're welcome to check out my Twitter, of course.
I've already read it.
And I was really excited, to be honest. Beforehand, I was a little bit apprehensive about what I was going to expect, but he's a really great guy. He obviously cares about what he does. He thinks deeply, and he's very like holistic, that sort of thing. It's like a broad approach. It's important, the values of his players. There's been a big turnover of players already, but first of all, just initial thoughts. What are your thoughts for West Ham women this season before we get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah, it is an exciting time because obviously when Oli Harder came in, we'd heard a lot about him and the success he'd had abroad and him kind of trying to play this maybe a little bit more exciting style of football. But when he came into West Ham, he found himself in a relegation battle and just really needing to pick up points and results. So that kind of went out the window a little bit. I think he tried to implement it at first and then kind of had to accept it was just a case of getting points on the board. But now obviously he's had the summer, bring his own players in and can really kind of put his stamp on the team and put his stamp on the division as well. So it will be interesting to see how much of a shift there is this season in terms of the way West Ham set up and the way they approach games.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised, to be honest. I found him quite intense, and it was only having sat down with him. When you look at the stats, like we mentioned, they were quite brutal at first. It took him 7 games, I think, 7 WSL games for his first win, and that was the only one he got by the end of the season after 15 games, I think it was, that he's had so far. But there's been some ins and outs so far, quite a big turnover of players. The outs I'm most sort of interested in, and he made a point when he was talking to me that he looks for a lot of humility in the players, and he wants players working for each other, and the way they treat each other is important. And he was talking a lot about a team game and a team ethos, and it might be things you hear from players usually, but the main sort of departures we've had, Maz Pacheco has gone to Aston Villa, and I've lost count of the times, Kathryn, that I've watched the games live or highlights of games last season, and West Ham conceded from that left-hand side of their defence time and time again. So that was one I was quite delighted to see that Maz has left. Cho So-hyun's obviously gone to Spurs. All these are from the end of last season. Alicia Lehmann gone to Aston Villa. Kenza Darley was released, and Martha Thomas gone to Man United, which was the only one, frankly, that I was really upset about. Would it be fair to say that Alicia Lehmann, Kenza Darley, they sort of arrived at the club as these big stars? Cho So-hyun, obviously the FA Cup hero for West Ham previously, but would it be fair to say that have left the club given the ethos that Oli Harder's trying to implement?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Lehmann didn't play under him, I don't think, last season because she left on loan to go to Everton. So I don't know whether it was a case of she was never really part of his plans or didn't fit his style, or whether she just wanted a clean break completely. But I wasn't surprised to see her leave. Kenza Darley, again, she's been there a while. I think it's probably the right time for her to move on. I think she'd maybe, her and the club were maybe going separate ways, and I think she'd maybe become a little bit frustrated under the previous regime and probably needed a clean break. And Martha Thomas, that one was a surprise because I think we've sort of said before how much potential she's got. And obviously she's going to Man United. I think she was a player that Casey Stoney really rated highly. And clearly, obviously, Casey Stoney is gone, but United have maybe were going to sign her whether Stoney stayed and whether she left or not. And because the contracts are so small and short in women's football, obviously her contract ended, and she was free to leave. So it wasn't as if she'd signed a long-term contract and you could kind of keep her on, demand some sort of fee. So it was a shame to see her go. But again, she'd kind of had a bit of a mixed time of it. I know she scored a few goals towards the end of last season, but she was one of the ones that seemed to go for confidence during the difficult times last season. But I think, to be fair, there are some exciting names that have come in as well. So hopefully the players that have left, quite a lot of them attacking players, they won't be missed too much with the players that have come in.
Kathryn, you mentioned there the exciting incomings. I mean, I remember looking at earlier on in the summer and thinking there's quite a few of those outgoings happened before any incomings came in. It looked like there was a bit of a player exodus, but there's been some really, really exciting names come in. Based on that, what are the club's season expectations? What should fans expect to see from this new look West Ham team?
It's a difficult one because it's probably unrealistic to say, challenge for that top 5, top 4. Obviously, you've got the steady top 3 of Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, which will be difficult for any team to break, but the ones that have got the best chance of doing that are obviously Man United and Everton. And then for West Ham, it's really about kind of finishing in that middle bracket, being, not getting dragged into a relegation battle, and trying to sort of compete with the likes of Reading and maybe Brighton, who might sort of hang around the 5th, 6th mark. If West Ham could finish 5th, I think that'd be a fantastic season for them, and maybe progress in one of the cup competitions. Definitely target the League Cup, the Conti Cup, because that's one that sometimes the big clubs don't always rate as highly. I know Chelsea won it last year, but they'll obviously have bigger priorities this season. So that's definitely one to target. And I think West Ham did make the semi-finals of that last season. So that's one to try and progress in this year. And I mean, they can compete with Everton. I just think the way Everton have kind of progressed, being 5th the last 2 seasons and not being too far off United, I think they've probably got the better chance of actually breaking into the top 4, trying to maybe challenge the top 3. But there's no reason why West Ham can't, finish 5th or 6th, and that would probably be an improvement on last year.
Kathryn, James mentioned the incomings there. I just want to throw some names at you. I'll list them off so anyone listening knows. Claudia Walker has arrived from Birmingham. The striker Brooke Cairns, former Everton and Liverpool player, has arrived. Grace Garrett left Arsenal in the summer. Yui Hasegawa from AC Milan, Japanese international attacking midfielder. Lisa Evans has arrived on loan from Arsenal, the wing-backs who can play midfield as well, Scottish of course. New Zealand goalkeeper Anna Leet from Oli Harder's homeland, a 20-year-old, played in the Olympics over the summer. Lucy Parker, who was actually drafted by Kansas City in America in January. She came through the Arsenal Academy, but she's opted to leave America and give it a crack at West Ham. She's a defender. Abby Lee Stringer, the 26-year-old midfielder, has arrived from Everton. Zanetta Wine, 30-year-old midfielder from Glasgow City. Mel Phillis, 18-year-old from London Bees, who plays in midfield. And another exciting addition is to Oli Harder's staff. Brian Tompkins, Sydney Kavanagh and Lucy Barnes have joined. Brian Tompkins comes. Oli, I believe, met him during his time in the States. So they join up with Paul Konchesky, who's obviously the assistant manager, and Oli leading the way. Out of those names I've thrown at you there, Kathryn, which ones jump out at you as exciting and ones that West Ham women fans should be excited to see and would have the biggest impact on the team and the results, hopefully?
Well, Lisa Evans was one that did kind of shock me a little bit when I saw it. It was just sort of one of those, I wasn't really expecting that, because before she picked up her injury, she was, pretty much a regular in the Arsenal team. And I think because she actually plays sort of left-sided, left back, left wing, while she was injured, Katie McCabe's kind of become a left wing back, left winger. She's sort of reconverted herself and has been playing really, really well. So that's obviously, she's found herself maybe a little bit further down the pecking order. But was a very good player for Arsenal, and I think she will bring a lot of experience for West Ham. As you say, can play left back, can also play on the left wing, good going forward, good coming back. I think I'm right in saying she might take free kicks. I might have made that up, but I'm sure I've seen her take a few in the past. Claudia Walker's the other one, because she's essentially coming in to replace Martha Thomas as, as the main centre forward, and I think she's the only kind of striker that has been signed this summer. She did well for Birmingham last year, scored about 5 goals, I think, in a team that was, really struggling at the bottom, and a team that didn't, always create many opportunities. So she should thrive with the creative midfielders that are coming into the team as well. But those two are the ones that stood out. But obviously the players that come from abroad, it's always harder to know how they will, how they'll fit into the WSL, because the demands are slightly different to the leagues abroad.
Brighton away is the first game of the WSL season. That kicks off on Sunday afternoon at 2:00. There is a new pitch, by the way. Oli Harder was keen to stress to me that there's a new pitch been laid at the Dagenham and Redbridge Stadium, where the West Ham girls obviously play their home games. He said, we're not going to be playing in a field anymore, in a ploughed field. So that's exciting stuff. So me and the boys are definitely going to be getting down there a few times this season. I hope that our listeners will, of course, as well. But this Brighton game on Sunday, Kathryn, sort of rivals last season in that mini league that I've talked about for so long in the middle of the WSL. How do you see that game going?
It's difficult because Brighton are possibly the most unpredictable team in the WSL. Very well organised into Hope.
They beat Chelsea last season, end their ridiculous run.
Yeah, they were the only team to beat Chelsea last season. Nobody else managed to beat them. They beat them at home as well, at Kings Meadow. They'd been on a long unbeaten run, but their unbeaten run at Kings Meadow stretched back even further. And they just sort of, not randomly, but was a very big surprise when they beat Chelsea. But then I think a couple of weeks later, or a few weeks later, went and lost 4-1 to Bristol City, who were rock bottom of the table, and just made absolutely no sense. They are well organised under Hope Powell. I think they maybe had a couple of injury problems when they were beaten in that match by Bristol, and I think they had a player sent off. But they're hard to break down. Like I say, they can go to the top teams and give them a battle. They have made some fairly interesting signings. Rinzola Babajide on loan from Liverpool was Liverpool's best player for the last couple of seasons. Very quick forward, and they also signed Dan Carter from Reading, who I think was the first time they'd paid a fee for a player. So they've clearly got ambitions as well. But as we say, it is that mini league, and they've got to really kind of, West Ham have got to go into that thinking these are the games we have to win if we want to kind of push on. So it'd be interesting to see which team kind of goes for it more, whether it's West Ham that take the game to Brighton, whether it's Brighton coming out of their shells a little bit more. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brighton kind of set up and maybe play on the counter a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, look, I mean, fingers crossed that this season is the one that the West Ham women finally deliver on the promise that at the beginning of last season it was exciting, and it just I think the fall from grace, that's why it hurt so more, because it felt like they could do something special last season. But I certainly feel good about it. Just what can fans expect if they're listeners to the podcast and they haven't watched West Ham women in the past, or regular supporters of the team who listen to the pod and, like you said, aren't sure what can they expect from Oli Harder and his style of play this season? He wasn't able to show off, if you like, or show what he's about last year, because it was just about staying up. They managed to do that. He's had a whole pre-season, brought some players in his own mould. What can new or old fans of the West Ham women team expect this season?
Well, he's one of those managers that very much likes play out from the back, kind of that passing style of football, taking the pressing style. He spoke a lot about pressing when he had his first press conference. That kind of style of play that's become a lot more popular in recent years, which obviously was sort of the opposite to how Matt Beard kind of used to set the team up. So I think that the two kind of systems probably clashed. The players were probably used to playing a certain way under Matt Beard, and then Oli coming in, trying to stamp his new philosophy on the team. probably clashed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, he'll try and play exciting football. As you say, some exciting players coming into the team. So hopefully there'll be a lot of goals. Hopefully they won't concede from the left as much anymore. And yeah, hopefully it'll just be, exciting football to watch. I don't think, as you say, they might not win every game, but as long as, they're playing a nice brand of football and, it's not kind of dire to watch, then obviously that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Kathryn, we're delighted that you've agreed to come back and join us for our first West Ham women's segment of the season. Do not fear, we will be calling you up again regularly to come and give us your insight. And obviously worth noting for fans and listeners to the podcast, if they haven't before, they will have the opportunity to watch far more of not just the West Ham women, but women's football in general this season, with the WSL games being broadcast live on Sky, which is an absolutely huge move for the game. Are you excited for that, Kathryn? Makes your job a bit easier, no doubt, as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's great to see the game kind of on the big channels and getting more of an audience, having more games on there, and also just seeing a bit more analysis, because we're quite used to seeing sort of a brief highlight show of the goals, and it was, that's it. Actually can kind of get them broken down a little bit more, and it just makes it more available to a bigger audience. So yeah, it's great to see it on the big screen, as to say.
Absolutely. Well, Kathryn Batte, you are a legend, sports journalist and WSL expert from Daily Mail. Thanks for coming on for the first West Ham Women segment of the season. It's exciting times for the girls, exciting times for fans. We'll be getting down there, and we hope everyone listening gives the girls their full support, tunes in and gets down to the games at Dagenham.